Welcome to the Deep Dive Discussions, where we explore fascinating topics through the lens of AI insights powered by NotebookLM from Google. Let's dive in.
Okay, so the Zodiac, right? It's like everywhere you look these days. Everyone's all about their sign, their birth chart, those eerily specific horoscopes you see online.
And it's interesting because a lot of people don't realize the whole system is based on a really outdated picture of, well, the entire universe.
It's kind of like using a map from the 1700s to find your way around New York City today. You might get lucky, but chances are you're going to end up pretty lost. We're talking about a time when people genuinely believed Earth was the center of everything.
The sun, the moon, the stars.
The whole cosmos basically putting on a show just for us.
That's the geocentric model. And for a really long time, it was the prevailing belief. And honestly, you can kind of see why. Back then, they didn't have telescopes and all the fancy tech we have now.
So you look up at the night sky, and it really does seem like everything's revolving around you.
Exactly. But here's the thing. That whole idea that Earth is the cosmic VIP is the foundation upon which the entire zodiac system is built.
So we're talking about ancient astronomers charting the stars, creating those 12 signs based on where the sun appeared to be during a certain month.
Precisely. But what they didn't know then completely changes how we understand the zodiac today.
And that right there is where things get really interesting, because centuries of scientific discovery are about to turn the astrological world upside down. Buckle up, because next we're diving into the nitty-gritty of why that birth chart you're so attached to might not be what it seems.
So yeah, about that Earth-centric view. Turns out we're not quite as special as we thought.
You're saying we need to ditch the whole Earth as the center of the universe thing?
It's a little more complicated than that, but essentially, yeah. Our understanding of the cosmos has, well, evolved a bit since the days of ancient astrology.
Okay, but how much does that really matter? I mean, the constellations are still up there, right?
They are, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
Imagine you're watching a movie on a giant screen, but you're really close to it right up front. Now imagine someone moves your seat way, way back. The movie's the same, the screen's the same, but your perspective has totally changed.
Okay, I'm with you so far. So we're seeing the stars from a different angle now than our ancestors did.
Not quite. It's more like the Earth itself is kind of dot wobbling, like a spinning top as it starts to slow down. That wobble is called precession, and over thousands of years, it shifts the apparent position of the stars.
Hold on. You're telling me my birth sign, the one I've been reading about since I was a kid, could be wrong?
It's not impossible. Remember, those signs were all linked to the sun's apparent position within a constellation during a particular month. But thanks to precession, the whole celestial map has shifted.
Okay, that's kind of mind-blowing. But wait, there's more, right? What was that about constellations being an optical illusion? You're gonna have to break this down for me.
Sure, so think about it like this. Those patterns we see in the sky, like Ursa Major or Orion, the stars that make them up, they're not actually close together in space.
You're saying it's all just like a trick of perspective.
Exactly. It's like if you were looking at a city skyline at night. Some of those buildings might seem right next to each other, but in reality, they could be streets apart.
So we're basically connecting the cosmic dots, drawing lines between stars that aren't really connected.
Basically. And because those stars are so incredibly far away, any movement they make over time is, well, basically imperceptible to us. But when we're talking about a system like the Zodiac, which is based on the precise positions of stars from thousands of years ago, that disconnect becomes a pretty big deal.
Okay, so let me get this straight. The Earth isn't the center of the universe. Constellations are basically a celestial illusion. And on top of that, the whole Zodiac thing is based on where stars appeared to be back when, like, gladiators roamed the Earth.
You got it.
And to think, we haven't even gotten to those vague horoscope readings yet.
Oh yeah, you mean the ones that could apply to, well, pretty much anyone.
Exactly. There's got to be a reason why those always seem so relatable, even if they're total nonsense.
Well, there is. It's called the Barnum effect. And it basically explains why people are so good at finding personal meaning in statements that are actually super general.
So even if we ignore all the other inaccuracies with the Zodiac, those daily horoscopes are just playing on our tendency to see ourselves in almost anything.
There's a bit more to it than that, but you're on the right track. The psychology of why we cling to these beliefs is just as interesting as the science that debunks them. But we'll get into that in a bit.
So we spent the last little while basically taking a cosmic sledgehammer to the Zodiac. But before we abandon ship entirely, there's something else to consider. Why is it that even when presented with all these inconsistencies, people are still so drawn to astrology?
Well, humans have this innate desire to find meaning, to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves. We look for patterns, and the Zodiac offers that in a way. It tells this neat story where our lives are intertwined with the cosmos, even if the science behind it doesn't quite hold up.
So even if it is based on a flawed premise, the Zodiac gives us this framework for understanding ourselves and our place in the grand scheme of things.
Right. And let's be real, the world can feel pretty chaotic sometimes. Having something like the Zodiac tell you that your personality, your quirks, are all preordained, written in the stars, well, that can be incredibly comforting.
And it's not just about self-discovery either. Astrology has this social aspect to it, this shared language that people use to connect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Asking someone their sign is practically a universal icebreaker. Even if you don't take it literally, it's an easy way to spark a conversation, find common ground.
It's true. I can't say I haven't used a Zodiac-based conversation starter or two in my time, but it does make you think maybe just dismissing the Zodiac as completely bogus is missing the point. There's something to be said about that human need for connection, for finding meaning, even in something that might not be entirely grounded in fact.
Exactly. And to be clear, this deep dive wasn't about telling anyone they're wrong for finding meaning in the Zodiac. It's about giving you the tools to think critically about it, to understand the historical and scientific context for yourself.
Because knowledge is power, as they say, or at least makes for more interesting conversations. But it really gets you thinking, if something like the Zodiac, with all its flaws and inaccuracies, can endure for centuries simply because it resonates with something deeper within us, what other beliefs do we hold that might benefit from a similar examination? What other truths are out there, just waiting to be viewed through a more critical lens?
And that's a question worth pondering, isn't it? It's a reminder that curiosity and critical thinking are essential, no matter what we're exploring, whether it's the vastness of space or the intricacies of human belief. So yeah, keep looking up at the stars, enjoy those late-night conversations about astrology, but never be afraid to dig a little deeper, question what you think you know. There's always more to discover.
Thanks for diving deep with us on the Deep Dive discussions. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep the conversation going. After all, even AI needs an audience. Until next time, stay curious and remember, intelligence is best when it's not artificial. See you in the next one.